Hey there, citizen planners. Welcome to What's the Plan, the show about urban planning where we talk about the trials and tribulations of being an urban planner in the 21st century. I'm your host and city planner Rashidul Hassan Deepan, and this is my podcast. As I'm recording this intro, it is July 5th, and America celebrated her 245th birthday the day before. Something else happened yesterday. Facebook Memories told me that it has been a year since I uploaded my first episode of What's the Plan. And by the time I'm done uploading this episode, it will be July 6th. When you upload episodes as sporadically as I do, you feel like you haven't accomplished much. But the algorithm gods has blessed me with this tidbit of data, and I'm again burdened with glorious purpose. Marvel movies reference aside, I think it just made me feel good about starting this podcast. Look, this is a work in progress, and I've accepted the fact that it will take a few episodes before I settle into a polished presentation. It's not like I don't have the capability to create a polished product, but I think that if I wanted to pursue that level of production, I would never have started this podcast, which is a very personal project for me. Nowadays, when you are letting your presence known in YouTube or other social media platforms, it is hard not to get swept by the number of followers you have and maintaining consistent schedules of when your content will go live, all in the name of being an influencer. But for a guy like me, all it did was paralyze me from actually uploading the episodes. So, in that regard, I'm happy I made that first step. Instead of getting bogged down by the details of who my target audience is, I just started making episodes for the audience of one. Yours truly. If nothing else, this podcast will be a documentation of my experiences as a planner. I hope it will track my evolution as one as well. But I also want this podcast as a stage to celebrate the interesting people I have met over the years and the lasting impact they have had in my life. So, my guests today are Jia and Warren Eugene Merrick III, who are a little far from the usual urban planning crowd that I try to invite. But my introduction to them is still woven in my narrative of being an urban planner. I met Jia at the subway stop at 68th Street and Lexington in New York. If you're a New Yorker, you would probably know that it is the stop you exit if you want to go to Hunter College. And that was exactly what was happening when I got off the 6th train on one fateful morning. I have just started doing a bit of street photography. Not a surprise. New York is the ideal city to take photos of people going about their daily lives. New York is also well known for its street performers, or buskers, a term I learned from Jia herself. I had my camera, and the city had its buskers and people. It was a match made in a New York minute. So there I was, just about to go to school, and I see Jia busk. I can't remember what song she was playing. I'm not sure if it was her own composition or the theme to Harry Potter. Or was it Star Wars? My memory eludes me a little. However, if you ask Jia, she won't be able to tell either. In fact, if people asked her how we met, she would probably say, "Oh, we met on the streets." Knowing her over the years, I'd say that's about right. Such is the life of a busker. I met Warren through Jia. They are partners and have been together for some time now. Warren is a photographer, an actor, poet, and his faith in Christianity is important to him. But as you'll hear him say in this episode, I'm me. Ever since I have left New York, I have kept in touch with Jia. In fact, I would say our friendship grew after I left New York. Every now and then, we would catch up over the phone, and if Warren was around, he would join in on the conversation as well. We talked about pretty much anything and everything under the sun, from politics to religion to Marvel movies. Other than the vast topics that we discuss in our 2 to 3 hour phone conversations, I enjoy the dynamic that they share. In a world where you see couples or partners prefer presenting an Instagram perfect version of the relationship, it is refreshing to see that the veil of formality being lowered. I have felt both Warren and Jia have maintained an honest appearance of who they are in front of me. There were no false pretenses, not as who they are as individuals or who they are as partners. And in one of these recent phone conversations, I believe it was Warren who casually mentioned that Jia does not think she is a musician. Now, you see, I know she has a theater background. I know Jia went to Harvard to study acting. Something, according to Warren, she makes sure everyone knows when they meet her. It seems that this anecdote of Jia has become somewhat of an inside joke between them, and I'm honored to be let in the joke. As you will hear in the upcoming conversation, whether Jia is a musician, a busker, or an actor is really not the question. The crux of the discussion was about identity. How do you identify yourself to the world, and how the world identifies with you? And I think we went somewhere with the discussion, even if it's not a definite conclusion. If I had to describe my impressions of Jia and Warren, I would say they are sincere and unapologetic in who they are. Sincere in who they are as people, and unapologetic in the things that they believe in. So, with that in mind, put on your headphone, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Jia and Warren.
Ja, why do you think you're not a musician? This is a big statement. I've known you for, I don't know how many years has this been? Quite a
I
few
don't
years
know.
now.
More 7 years, 6.
Has it been 7 years? Wow.
No, 6. I would say 6.
6 years?
Yes.
Still more than 5. Um, so why don't you think you're a musician?
Uh, let me see if it's going to make sense because it's right. I haven't really spoken aloud in this sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all, I just don't feel it. Like some people feel like they're a musician, like they're destined. That's who they are. I always felt that with being an actor, and that that's since the day that I walked into my first acting class.
Mm-hmm.
Senior year college, late senior year college. Warren's rolling his eyes. I have no idea why.
Maybe because you haven't mentioned you went to Harvard yet.
No, she look. I'll
Okay.
tell her.
Oh my goodness.
I'll call her like a musician because she's a busker. Although she hasn't done that in a while either.
Busker doesn't
But
encompass just music, but okay.
Okay. So I'll say because she plays the violin.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I say
but you don't know my inner workings.
Oh God, this is gonna be crazy.
I'll tell her that she's a musician. She gets mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
You literally go outside. This is when she was doing it before the pandemic.
Right.
She would go outside. She would go find the spot. She would grab her violin. She would play.
Right.
On a fairly regular basis.
See, there's another reason.
She's a musician.
Why I get mad about that.
She's a musician. Okay. It's like me. I work at UPS, regrettably.
Mm-hmm.
I go there every day. That's my job.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like me saying, it'd be like her telling me, "You work at UPS," and I get mad and say, "No, I don't."
Mm-hmm.
But I do. That's what I do. That's where I go make my money.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
she's an actor because she's working on her, her one-woman show and all this other stuff that she's working on, but she hasn't performed. But she does go out and she does play the violin. She does go out and she plays the violin. She's a musician.
So seems like Jia is kind of thinking about 3 different identities. One being the busker, one being the musician, or rather not being the musician. And the other one is, a theater actor. Are they three different things, or is that's just way your way of kind of navigating, your creative style?
They're three very different things.
Mhm.
Of course, schizophrenia.
Yeah. All right, yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, one does not transfer to the other like click of a finger. It took me
Okay.
years to apply what I learned from theater to busking, and it took me years to apply what I learned from theater to music, and vice versa. And
Well,
Warren's a photographer, and it took time for me to apply theater stuff to being a model for you in front of the camera. It didn't happen right overnight, if you remember. Do you remember?
you're asking this to Warren, just so
Yeah.
people-
Yes, indeed. And
Okay, that's an interesting question.
Yeah,
I
the
don't-
skills don't transfer like with a click of a finger.
that's not a saying. Stop
Oh
saying
my
that.
god.
She was trying to say push off a button, wasn't she?
Say again.
She was trying to say push off a button.
Or the snap of a finger.
Yeah.
Snap off a finger. Okay.
I'm telling you, man, without me, she would just go into any social
It's
situation,
very close.
have a conversation, and embarrass herself.
Mhm.
And Harvard would come up, and
Mhm.
people would walk away from that conversation. No, put on the show, be like, "Oh, that's very interesting." Walk away and talk about her.
Okay, so this is what I'm finding interesting. So, I mean, you guys know that I went to architecture school, then went to Hunter College to study urban planning, right?
Mm.
Wait, you
And
went to
before,
Dartmouth?
wait, what?
You went to Dartmouth?
No, Hunter College.
Hunter.
I didn't go
Oh,
to
what was the first thing you said?
Architecture school.
I didn't hear. I didn't hear.
All right. Okay.
All right.
Let's rewind again. So I went to architecture school and then I went to Hunter College to study urban planning. But before that, before I decided that I want to study architecture, I used to draw stuff. Now I never went to any art school, but clearly I had a thing for it, right? To the point that it kind of encouraged me to be like, you know what? I'd like to do something where I can draw and make a living out of it. And that's where the whole architecture school went. And then that changed my life. And then I'm like, you know what? I love architecture and all of that jazz, but looks like I'm more into urban planning and stuff like that. So I shifted gear a certain way. Now, an artist, an architect, and urban planner, they're three, you could say, distinct professions, right? But I do see a connection between all three of them where one led to the other. And in a way, I can circle back to the fact that, okay, maybe I am an artist, which, sometimes I struggle with as well. But after doing a few shows, not held by me, but participating in, photography events and stuff like that, you tell them, well, this is what an artist would do, right? To get exposure or, nowadays Instagram. But my point is that when I think about all these things, I just see myself as a creative person and kind of shifting between each profession and kind of using it whenever, whichever comes in hand, right?
Yes.
Sure.
So does that stop me from being an architect? Because I haven't been practicing architecture for a long time. The most I've been doing is making 3D models and making that into something that could possibly be done.
She's looking at me with a real, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. She's looking at me with a real smug expression on her face, like that's what she's been doing when it's not what she's been doing or saying.
That's right.
Continue.
So what does that mean? Does that kind of take away from the fact that you're a theater person? Does it take away from the fact that you're a busker or a musician or you're all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think she thinks it takes away from the whole but I'm an actor thing.
No, it
That's the part that I'm kind of like stuck on a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
the kind of
does
anger
it?
that she gets when I say that, when I call her a musician, and like, getting yelled at or getting hit or whatever, when I call her a musician, she gets mad.
okay. See, that's a
All right.
there's a different reason for that upsetness, and I
That
think
upsetness.
We gotta roll with it. I can't edit everything out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what I've explained how I think about these kind of creative things. Clearly, you don't probably see it the same way, or you have a different take on
it. No, I can relate. I can certainly relate. But
Okay.
it's the priority
it.
that
Okay.
that is in my mind.
Okay.
I think when people just say, or most of the time say, you're a musician,
Mhm.
it kind of it distorts that priority list in my own mind. And sure, I could just be like all grateful. It's like, oh, thanks.
Right.
It's also it doesn't gives the true representation of the priority that I have in my mind
Okay.
of myself.
But
So-
nobody's gonna see you playing the violin and think, oh, she's an actor. That's not what's gonna happen. They're gonna say she's a musician.
So, okay, so this is another thing that I'm thinking as I'm hearing Jacques speak about it,
Mhm.
which is, so I think it's the lens that you're looking through as you're critically thinking about something or approaching something, right? Like there are moments where when I'm working, you just have to think that you're an administrator and you're doing a government job and just do the government sequential things, right? Like you have to do this after this, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, the bureaucracy of it, right? But then there are moments where you really put on your planner hat and try to approach something from that perspective. So you start to become critical, you have an analytical outlook towards it, but you're using your kind of whatever planner skills that you've either learned or obtained during job, and you're using that as a way of finding a solution to a problem. So yeah, is it possible that what you're trying to say, and I know I might be kind of speculating here, but are you trying to say that when you're approaching something, you do come from whatever training that you had as an actor and utilizing that when you're doing busking or you're playing music? Because I can relate to that as well.
Or just living life. It's
Sure,
the
sure.
thought
Yep, yep,
process.
yep. So for example, when I'm no musician, right? But clearly I've got a few stuff that shows that I'm interested in making music. And what I've been noticing is that, again, how am I approaching it, right? I am approaching it as not somebody who goes with feelings. Yeah, I've got feelings when I play music, but I'm also like, I got limited skills. And therefore I have to use this tool, this software to kind of edit as much as I can to kind of make a better version of whatever I was playing. Now, the more you play, you get better at it. There's no doubt about that. But still, I'm not good at, like, for example, keeping time. I am so bad at it. Like, I really am. And I could play it for a few minutes, but then I lose that kind of time beat and stuff like that. So I found a way around that. But for me to be able to do that, I feel like I've been using my kind of training as a student of architecture and kind of like, there's always this analytical element to it. Like, what do you have? What can you do and what you cannot do? What are your resources? And then you try to figure out, how do I utilize these resources? That's been a way of me kind of approaching stuff, or maybe from an urban planner perspective as well, But there's always been these two key education that I've had that I've relied on almost on a subconscious level, where I'm using those ways as a way of navigating life as well.
Yeah, that's very cool. I'm glad we're having this conversation. Actually, it tells me about your thought process,
right,
your approach in
right,
everything. And to me, that's the makeup of a person is your thought process. My thought process to everything is very much of an actor. And I can tell you, I have musician friends. When you talk to them, their thought process is very different.
But every musician is different.
there's a very core identification that
See, I don't necessarily. I mean that's fine. I mean that works for you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a photographer. I've been an actor. I've been a writer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think compartmentalize whatever task I'm working on or whatever it is. I don't say, okay, this is how Warren the writer
Mm-hmm.
responds or interacts or does things. And this is how Warren the photographer, analyzes. I just do.
Okay.
you're
So you kind of shift between whatever knowledge that you have, whether from life experience or your educational background, you're more fluid, and you as you transition to find a solution to a problem or
It's
but
yeah, because I mean,
Mhm.
because I mean, there might be in this is purely hypothetical at this
Right,
point. I can't
right.
actually, if any of these kind of things has happened, but there might be something that Warren the photographer or some methodology or some thing that Warren the photographer would do that would work as Warren the writer, or something that Warren the writer would do that fits what Warren the actor at the moment would need to do. So it's like I'm just me.
you're a
I'm
Christian. I think that you're more identified with being a Christian than anything.
I do. I am.
There you go. I think
But I mean that's well, okay, yeah, okay. So then what you're saying, then you being an actor that's your identity.
or
it's
that's the source. It seems like that's the kind of well that she goes back to every time if she's trying to
Mhm. Yeah,
get something.
I was gonna
So
say
then
the
it's an issue of identity.
right, well, I'm not sure if it's the identity. It's more of the lens that I look through the world in order
Mhm.
to see the world in its nuances and its wholeness. It's kind of my crutch. Without it, I can't really do anything.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna.
And
Mhm.
you were gonna going back. You were talking about skill set. I
Mhm.
certainly don't have the skill set as a full-on violinist. I'll
Okay,
admit, because
okay,
there are people who can play faster and higher notes, and that's the skill set that they own. I'm not even that interested in gaining that. Um, it's just
okay.
not within my interest. My interest is more something else. Um, More music therapy, if you want to tag on the word music, more music therapy than anything.
Okay, let's try not to tag onto the word music. How would you describe it then?
Theater artist.
Theater artist.
So does it then? So then the question it begs the question: are you only something if you have the skill, if you want to be it? Like she's a violinist.
Mm-hmm.
She's not a musician. She's a violinist.
Mm-hmm.
Is she only a is she only a musician because she plays the violin if she wants to be?
Interesting.
No, I'm talking about thought process, like the
But I'm you understand what I'm saying, right?
Well, I think so. Warren, if I'm wrong, just correct me on this. So are you saying that just because she plays a musical instrument, does that make her a musician, or a musician is more a broader term in the sense they are not binded by what instrument they play? Is that what you were saying, or did I just totally miss the mark there?
Well, she's saying she's not a musician. I call her a musician because she plays the violin.
Mm-hmm.
When she gets a little upset about that, I say she's a violinist. She still doesn't quite like that either, even though she plays the violin and she'll go busking playing the violin.
So
It
what
seems to be it seems from my perspective
right.
there has to be, it's gonna sound kind of weird, but there is some kind of consent required for her to be a violinist. It has to be like a conscious decision that she make. It's like if I have
Consent from whom though? Like for her, from
herself.
herself?
Yes.
Herself. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's like if I have if this is not the case, but let's just say I have a natural gift of drawing, and anything I see I can draw, and I draw all the time, but I don't necessarily enjoy drawing. I just do it because I have the ability. Does that make me an artist?
Well, if you don't enjoy it, I really have to doubt whether it does make you an artist because, well, you see, that makes it tricky again.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I was going to say that I play music. I'm not good at it, but I do enjoy it. But I'm not going to call myself a musician. I could always call myself a hobbyist.
Would you call yourself a guitarist or a bassist?
Well, that's the thing. Like I'm playing this stuff just because I want to create music. But I'm not there where I would actually call myself a musician. But I've always hesitated calling myself an artist. But over the years, as I've done a few kind of exhibitions and stuff like that, I mean, that does not legitimize me. But what I'm saying is that it does do one thing what an artist often does, which is put their work out there for people to observe and comment on and derive something from it. I think that's one very key thing, that I might have put my heart and soul to an artwork, whatever that might be, but somebody seeing that and reacting to that, and if it kind of generates some sort of emotion, you know, that really makes me feel like, yeah, I think I kind of did what an artist is supposed to do. But again, I never went to art school, so I wouldn't know like what an artist is.
Is that a requisite?
Is that a requisite? Well, for me, I feel like that's one of the things that I want to do. Like, see, because the term artist is not just your drawing, right? You're something, you're expressing something that in a way then resonates with people, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm able to do that to anything, really, at this point, if you think about it, then I am an artist, right? If I can generate some emotion, good or bad, doesn't matter. I made somebody angry because, you know, that's the kind of work that I did to provoke. I would say I'm an artist, right? You know.
My question, that's wherein lies my question. Are you only an artist at that point because you acceded to that, or are you an artist having done that regardless of how you feel about being called one?
Yeah, the more I think about it, it's more like I'm an artist because I want to call myself an artist.
So if somebody who sees, if you don't want to be called, if you don't call yourself an artist or see yourself as an artist, but someone sees your work and says, oh, wow, you're an artist, which is it?
Maybe both. Why not both? Why not?
So Schrodinger's artist.
What?
But Schrodinger's artist. You are both simultaneously not and are an artist.
Well, the reason I say that is because somebody could feel like, you know what, your work, whatever you did, it has an impact on me. But I might have a inner critic that kind of stops me from feeling that's not something to derive inspiration from, because I don't think it's a good work.
But if you're making art, or if you're whatever the art is, once you put it out there, it's no longer about you or how you see it. It's how other people see it and how they perceive it. And that's my point when I say Ja's a musician, I say she's a violinist. She may not see herself as such, but when she goes out there, and I've witnessed, you know, people come up to her and say what they say and, you know, applaud her and stand around and videotape her and all of that, I see it. That's art, or that's what a musician does. And so it doesn't quite matter from the angle, from the perspective I'm coming from, that she doesn't see herself as that. Other people do.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Okay, Jia, so you want to add to that? Because we've been mansplaining everything right now. So like to kind of see, I mean, that's an interesting point, actually, you know. So do you think you're self-critical of yourself or your work for you not to call yourself an art, like a musician or a violinist? Do you think that's what you're doing?
Mm, maybe, but I don't feel it. I see what Warren's talking about now from the perspective wider audience. I get that now.
Mhm.
I don't think I got that before. I'll probably forget after this.
Well, that's why we're recording it so that
That's
you
why
don't
we're-
forget. Okay.
Documentation.
Right.
Documentation proof.
Right.
That's right.
Every
I
time this happens, Warren's gonna play this bit.
right.
There you go.
I'm simply talking about from my perspective, with what I'm doing and where I'm going. See what I mean?
Mhm.
I like to put words to momentum with where I'm going and the nuances that I see it being. I may not know what music has in store for me in the future. And I may be hitting an area that hasn't been categorized yet in terms of music. So it's important for me, for that reason, it's important for me to see it for the nuances as it is. The nuance being that I play music with the thought process that I've gained and applying from theater training. All I learned from music school was, where to place my finger, the fingerboard. Really, that's,
Technicals.
the technical skills, but
Mhm.
nothing like how to transfer emotions to my fingertips and then out to performance skill. I picked that up from theater training.
Mhm.
And I really enjoy keep practicing on radiating that. We're talking about energy now.
Mhm.
It does get a little woo-woo, but that is training that I got from the, oh gosh.
Glad she said it.
Okay.
From Harvard?
Nah, the
No.
woo-hoo.
The woo-woo.
Damn it.
We're
Okay.
not very woo-woo, but
Okay.
I'm very much.
She's all about the vibes and feelings.
Ugh.
That's
Warren,
how we met.
you can feign all these kind of frustrations and I'm over it, but look, you've been with her for a long time, so I know you like her for that. So stop pretending, buddy.
You got him there.
I actually could relate to what Warren was explaining regarding how Jia might perceive herself, but when she's performing in front of people, how people perceive her, right? And the reason I could relate to it, Warren, is mainly because, I'm my role, my relationship with my city is as an urban planner, the city planner, and he works for the government, blah, blah, blah. And that is the primary lens people look me through. And so if any questions on administrative stuff or something like that, people probably will call me, which is fine. But there's this other part of me, the creative side, the kind of the designer side. And often I don't get to express that part of me because, just my work nature is not allowing it to do it right now. Other than a few occasions, like for example, designing a skate park or making illustrations for that. But that's very few and far in between. But I do find it interesting when sometimes people realize, oh, this guy can draw, or this guy has other aspects. And it is kind of disappointing that my job doesn't get to show the other side of me, I guess, or the other various aspects of me. I often do feel like there are many more aspects to me than just being the urban planner. And as much as I love that profession, but there's more to it, right? And I think that's in many ways I could then relate to Warren in terms of like, I am me, see me as me, I guess. There's a societal kind of expectations of putting in you boxes. And it doesn't matter if you're a person of color or anything. It's just like, okay, what's your name? My name is Deepan. What do you do? That's the next question, because that's going to define who you are and stuff like that. Then you can't see that person other than from that perspective. If you're a student, okay, you're a student. I'm going to treat you like a student. You're a doctor, I'm going to treat you like a doctor. If you're an engineer, I'm going to treat you like an engineer. But an engineer can draw, a doctor can have a habit of playing the flute or something. we have so many aspects to ourselves that sometimes gets not suppressed, but almost kind of the
Push to the
bed.
side.
Yeah, it's put aside. Exactly.
Push to
It's
the side.
there. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
there,
that's why.
but not brought up
But
very often.
That's why. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, like you said, I'm me. I'm all of me. I'm actor, photographer, Christian, writer, martial artist, whatever.
Mhm.
Everything that makes me me. It's not like one thing or the other. It's not like just the Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal, DC, Marvel. Nobody is just,
One or the other. It's
one
not
or the
binary
other.
like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, humanity, an individual is so much more, as the word Jai used, nuanced than that,
Right.
So that's why I just say, I'm me.
Jad, do you think you would describe yourself as you, or you still see your training as an actor a very key part of who you are? Like it takes precedence over a few more other things.
No, I mean, if you want me to prioritize, I would say I'm a human, and then
Mhm.
artist.
Really?
Well, right, questionable. Um, and then an artist, and then an actor, and then everything else.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, that was interesting. Do you think we came to a conclusion of what we were trying to figure out?
Sure, but I'll say I think you settled a fight between Warren and I.
Yes. See, that's why you guys need me in your life every now and then.
Yeah,
Perspective.
wasn't a fight for me.
Okay.
Are you saying that because you thought you were winning it?
Nah, I'm fairly certain I was. Yeah.
Black
This is
man
good.
talking.
And we have
And we
Round two.
round two.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I feel like we're good. I think we've kind of tried to come to a conclusion. Well, not a conclusion, an impasse maybe. Or what's the other word?
Truce.
Truce for a minute. Yeah, yeah. But I think we kind of covered a few interesting things. I mean,
Mhm.
I know we kind of went in and out, but I still feel like we kind of had a few questions and a few answers. So I feel good about that.
Yeah, it's spiraling more thoughts in me.
That's good. That's good. Well, yeah, I guess we can end it right here.
Sounds
Awesome.
good.